Hey guys, this is Davor from Tennis House. As you just seen my slice video, the first 15-20 seconds in the intro, today's topic is the slice. And slice is one of very important shots for any level. To chip a serve back, to come in on a low ball as an approach shot, to change the spin, not just hitting topspin back. So big part in successful tennis is the slice. I want to break the slice down today. I'll give you two amazing breakdowns how you can practice the slice at the net and at the fence. And I'm going to give you 3 or 4 common mistakes that players do at the recreational level slicing, which will help you to improve your slice. Hoping you're not going to do those anymore. And as always, if you like what I do, take a second to subscribe, turn the notification bell on. I'm posting videos a couple of times a week, and let's get straight to it. I start from the beginning. This is all you need about the slice you need to know. So the slice starts off with the continental grip. That's one mistake people mess up. They have the wrong grip. They have like an Eastern grip, and it's going to be hard, for example, to slice, or any other grip that's not the continental, going to make it very hard for you to slice. So how do we get the continental grip? You've seen many videos on my videos before where I showed it. I just go quickly through it. One way is getting the racket under the armpit and taking the racket out like a sword. That's more like for beginner players, for kids. They like that stuff. That gives you a pretty good continental grip. The other way is you put if you have the index knuckle here and the heel pad right here, you draw a line, and you see on that racket you have 8 bevels, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You put that on bevel number 2, which is on the right hand corner. And you just you hold the racket straight, and you go straight down with your hand and put the index knuckle on bevel number 2, and you have a pretty good continental grip. So talking about grip, one more thing that's very important when you want to have successful slices, keep the trigger finger, we call the index finger, the trigger finger, a little bit away from the middle finger, so you have it like this, and that's going to give you a little bit more feel for any shot. That goes with the serve, the forehand, and the slice. Any shot, the volleys, you spread the index finger from the middle finger, you're going to have a little bit more control. So I'm going to go through important checkpoints that I use on the slice. Stay with me. This is the most important part of the video. So when you slice, I like to use the fence. So for here at our club, which is called Stone Creek Club and Spa, I use the ladders, and I love that players at the beginning learn so quick. So you have put the back to the fence, you have a continental grip. So now when you turn, I'll go a little bit further. When you turn now, you put the tip on the top of the E, okay? So like you go and turn, your knuckles are up. When you turn up, pull with the left hand, pull your racket a little bit towards you. It's going to lock your wrist. You need to have a stable wrist in order to slice. If your wrist is weak, you're not having control over your shot, okay? So step number 1, pull the racket to you, get it up to the E. Knuckles point up, your wrist is locked. So now why I use our fence, which works perfectly here, I tell my student, go from E to your knee. Remember that. Because your contact point when you slice the ball is around, I always say belly button, in this case using these words, from the E to the knee. On the regular shot, you want to contact the ball about a foot in front of you. On the slice, you want to contact the ball around knee level or belly button level. Keep it close to you, because when you keep the ball closer, you can control it better when you slice it. All right, stay with me. That's a very important progression. You don't have the letters, you can do it differently. Here it works out perfectly. From the top of the E down to the knee. That's what I always say. Top of the knee, E, down to the knee. Because on the slice, you hit downwards on that ball. On the topspin, you roll it up, right? So, from the top of the E down to the knee. Now, get the bottom, the butt tip of the racket to go after you're at the knee level, to hit the end sign here, and then the left arm goes back. So you go from the top of the E to the knee, right here, bop, and then you go forward a little bit, and then to the side, or the inside is. And that's kind of a great way to explain and shadow that slice motion. So from up here, down to the knee, forward, and then to the side. And that's how the slice looks when it comes. You go like this, and then you end up with this triangle here. You need to make sure you're nice and flexible. So that's one way to perfectly shadow the slice. If you're a beginner or an intermediate player and you have a nice fence at your club, make sure that you take advantage of that. And if you don't have the ladders, don't shadow it. It's all about repetition. Lock the wrist, get up to the E, go down to the knee, go forward, and then you go with the butt cap to the end sign here, end sign, and then you take your left arm back. Whoop, whoop, bop. Actually very simple, but you need to repeat and have a lot of repetitions. Another way to study and do that is I'll bring you now to the net with me, and I'll show you how you can practice that at the net. So another great way to practice a slice besides being back at the fence, you basically do the same, but you're at the net. And the cool thing about the net is you can do that the same way. So let me show you. So we said at the beginning, you need to go high. At the fence it was the E, right? So you lock your wrist, continental grip, lock your wrist, go high, and then touch down at the net where your knee is, right here. And then go forward, forward, forward on the net, and then you pull it to the side. Basically the same, you have the net, and why the net is good, because from there someone can feed you, toss you a ball, and you can hit actually that ball from here. Someone is right there, and you stay above the net level here, and then you slice it back. Okay, so that's why the net is great. So you have a reference point, you start high, someone is right there, tosses the ball right here, and you slice it back to them. That's why it's good. So back to the exercise. You start up here. When you go to the knee, like we did at the fence here, think about there are a couple of water bottles lined up here, and you kick those bottles off, and then you hit the butt cap and go back. So you go up here where the knee level is, kick the water bottles off, and go back with the butt cap. Those are two ways. I hope you're still with me. Two ways to shadow and repeat the exercise. The fence works great, the net works great because someone can toss you the ball and you can start hitting it. All right, so now I'm gonna get to the points where people mess the slice up, and I hope you still stay with me because I'll give you 4 to 5 things you can have to change in order to have a better slice. And let's go back to the baseline. Alright, so the first mistake players do, as I said earlier, is that they don't have a continental grip. I showed you at the beginning of the video how to use the continental grip. I'm not going to repeat that. So that was the first thing. The second thing is when players at recreational level slice, a lot of times the take back is too low. So if your take back is this height here and not far enough and high enough, you're kind of pushing your slice and you're not having a lot of way of acceleration. So you always want to get help from your body. You want to have a lot of way of acceleration so things are easier. So as I said, mentioned at the beginning, that's why we went so high up on the E. Now my way to the contact point is way longer than this. And having the momentum going for me, I don't start basically at 0 and push. I start very high, and that helps me as well to cut, to hit down on that ball and go forward. If you start here, you push it forward, straight forward, it's not going to help you. So remember, go high up. It's going to give you a lot of energy, especially if you are an adult. You are probably stronger obviously than kids, but when kids do that, they need to be here, especially when they're young. So if you're a parent and your kid is 9, 8, they're going to have a hard time because they're going to try to compensate with the long follow through. They need to have the racket high and start to learn how to slice it. All right. Then the second thing is the contact point. What I mentioned earlier, start high at the E, go to the knee. So a lot of players hit the ball a lot of times in the net. If you're one of the players that goes and hits the ball in the net a lot, Most likely it's because your contact point is too far in front of you, and then everything rotated and uncoiled, and then you're gonna just push it into the net. A lot of players do that. I've been there through 25 years of teaching. Make sure on the slice that you wait for that ball to come closer to you. Don't be shy. Start high here and wait a little bit for that ball to come. At contact, you look something like this here, and then you go forward, down, and to the side. All right? Very important on a very good slice. The next thing is, as I mentioned earlier, if your take back is not high enough and you push, a lot of players follow through like they do in a one-handed backhand. So if you're one of the players that hits the ball and follows through like a one-handed backhand, it's not going to work. Think about the slice like a volley off the bounce. So when you're up high here, make sure, think that the bottom, the butt cap is going to go towards the ball. You need to go from high to low. And that when after you contact, what I just said, that you hit and freeze here. So the tip kind of points forward. I always like to use reference points. So if you're one of the players that is good in the setup, but then goes like this, and the tip points anywhere else besides in front of you, you had too much of a follow through and a push slice. The power on a slice comes from a nice and crispy, fast downward motion, and then you stop the motion. And when you hit and stop here, that transfers all that pace into the ball. So very, very crispy and clean. You start high, go forward and hit it, and freeze. I'll do that this way now, and freeze with the tip kind of pointing forward as a reference point. So the butt cap starts to chase the ball, and then you end up with the top of the racket pointing forward. As I said, reference point help a lot on technical issues to solve them. So that needs to happen in order to have a good slice. Another mistake a lot of players do is when they slice, they can do everything right, but then if the left hand dangles down here and doesn't do anything, the force you're creating here and your hit will pull you to the side, and you're not going to have a stable, controlled slice. So when you slice it, you need to make sure as soon as you initiate the forward motion, that's when your left arm starts to counterbalance the motion, and you want to be balanced. Okay, so you go, you hit, and then I call it the triangle. I'm not as flexible as Shapovalov. You know, when he slices, his arms almost touch. So you need to be very flexible, and you need to make sure that you counterbalance your motion so you can control actually what's happening on the slice. And another very important factor is when players start to slice, they tend to just stand there and use the arm. The slice is a very, very important shot in tennis, and it's very important that you are low with your center of gravity and that you create momentum. So don't be shy on a slice to be low and go in that shot. Go forward and in, because if you just hit out of the upper body, which is a common mistake, you stiff and you hit like this, there's no control, no depth, you can't hurt your opponent. You have to be very low, turn, and let the body help you to go and hit that ball successfully. And then one last thing I like to mention, as I said, lock your wrist and feel your upper body coiling against your lower body. So if you just hit out of the arm, that's another mistake. You're out of the arm. When you turn here, staying straight, now I'm coiling my upper body. And it's like you can have a player standing and doing the rotation, and then you just tell them lock your wrist, hold a continental, and do the same thing on the backhand side. So now actually it's all about timing. They rotate, they coil the upper body, and then they uncoil. Feeling this coil and uncoil adds up in the end again to all the factors to give you a successful and nice slice. And I know it's been a lot of things you have to pay attention to, but to recap, a high starting point for the longer way of acceleration, a continental grip with the locked wrist so you're not weak, The contact point has to be at knee level. It can't be too far in front of you. Your follow through cannot end up like a regular one-handed backhand. You have to go fast and freeze. And you need to make sure when you go and hit that you counterbalance your motion. Yeah, all those things gonna give you a better slice if you start to understand them. But those two shadowing exercises, they are amazing, and you practice it every single day, you will get the feel for the slice. And remember, there are 5 important things when you play. You play, the most important is the consistency, right? Then your direction, so you can move your opponent around. Then it's the depth. Depth is the highest, it's the most important thing to cause an error on the other side. And then the spins. Because if you only hit topspin, your opponent gets used to it, so you have to mix it up. And the last thing is the power, guys, and the pace. So make sure you get that into your weapon, because if you slice better, you're going to volley better, you're going to chip the serves better back, you're going to get better to the net. And there's so many beneficial things coming out of a good slice. So thank you for being with me 15-20 minutes in this video. But you follow protocol, I promise you're going to feel a little bit better with your slice. Thank you for watching. My name is Davor. Follow Tennis House, guys.